This video will focus on how to do your refutation paragraphs. Refutation or rebuttal paragraphs are the paragraphs where you say why you disagree with the other side's points. So, as we said before, each of the other side's points that you disagree with gets a separate rebuttal or refutation paragraph. And so you should have at least two, if not more, different rebuttal paragraphs. So you want to begin by presenting one of the other side's points. This is the point that you're going to rebut in that paragraph, and do so using equivocal language. So this is a little different because we're not starting with the topic sentence. It will come next, but we're starting with a presentation of what the other side's point is, because you have to set it up first in order to knock it down later. So you have to use good signaling language, equivocal language that makes it very clear that this is not your point, but this is the other side's point. Otherwise, it'll look like you change sides in the middle of the essay and are contradicting your thesis. So you don't want to have a backfire like that. So equivocal language is something like, proponents of the other side's point would have us believe that, or supporters of the other side's point try to argue that or try to claim that. You can kind of hear in that the writer is separating him or herself from that point, saying that's not my point, it's the other side's, and is using language that makes that point seem kind of fishy, like would have us believe, try to argue, try to claim. Ideally, you want to provide a name and a quote from someone who argues in favor of that point. So your research can help you find examples of people on the other side that you can quote and then rebut. So this section should just be a couple of sentences, maybe one sentence to sort of set up with the equivocal language, the other side's point, and maybe another to give the quote. After that, you state why the other side's point is wrong, and this is in effect the topic sentence of the rebuttal paragraph, because this is where you state your reason why that point is wrong. And you need a good transition here, a strong one, to make it clear that you're now shifting from presenting the other side's point to saying why it's wrong. So, however, is a good one here, or the only problem with this argument is something like that. That is a really strong transition. So this is about one sentence, just to have that boiled down topic sentence of why that point is wrong. And then the rest of the paragraph, which is the majority of it, is where you give your evidence and analysis to support your reason why you believe the other side's point is wrong. So just like with a confirmation, you want good evidence and analysis, so at least two different pieces of evidence, enough analysis before or after to explain why that evidence does support your argument. And also, very importantly, make sure you're staying on point. You want to make sure that you're rebutting the specific point from the other side that you presented at the beginning of this paragraph. One of the biggest mistakes I see people making with rebuttal is they will present one of the other side's point, but rather than saying why that point is wrong, they'll just shift to another argument. That's just changing the subject, and it's really bad, because what it means is that you've presented the other side's point and really just sort of let that stand without saying why it's wrong. So it's kind of worse than if you didn't even present it at all. So you want to make sure that you're staying on point in your rebuttal paragraph. And as we have mentioned before, make sure that you have a separate rebuttal paragraph for each of the other side's points that you're rebutting. So if you were rebutting two different points, you should have two different paragraphs in the refutation. Or if you're doing three different paragraphs, and so on. In the next video, then, we'll take a look at some good and bad examples of rebuttal paragraphs.